Welcome to the channel Kaizen Smarter. In order to increase our grasping power, the first thing which is needed is the focused attention. But that's not sufficient enough. There are a few techniques which will help to increase the grasping power. It is very critical to understand that there is a difference between reading a novel and reading something we want to grasp. In case of fiction books and novels, we just pick up the novel, find a cozy spot, and start reading it, so as to keep the interest in the plot and not spoil the pleasure of reading it sequentially. But non-fiction is different. We should not just pick up the book and start reading it directly. Otherwise, we will spend a lot of time without really understanding anything. Probably we end up just staring at the same paragraph or read the same lines again and again with nothing really being understood. Or we just doze off. Instead, it is better to just do something different. Watch a game, go for a walk, or whatever your hobbies are. Best way is to first go through the table of contents and maybe even just flip the pages of the book to glance through various chapters. This way, we get an idea of which topics are covered. After that, it is a good idea to go to the end of each chapter and look for the chapter summary or any quiz therein. Normally, the quiz or questions are formulated around the main concepts in the chapter which are critical to understand and grasp. So now we have an idea about what to look for in each of the chapters. At this time, there might be an urge to start reading the chapters. But hold on, do one more quick glancing. This time, look for the subheadings within the chapter and also for any text which is in bold or italic font. And look for any tips in the margins of the book, like in the dummy's books, or any quoted text. These are the important concepts the author thinks we should understand. While reading a novel, we don't need to mark up any text. But in the non-fiction books, it is a good idea to have a practice of adding some markups. You can finalize your own method of marking the text. Here is something to give an idea. If you think the information in a paragraph is really important, you can highlight it or just add a star mark next to it. If there is some more clarity needed, you can put a question mark next to it. And if you want to follow up about certain aspects, then just put a hollow ballot box next to it. Afterwards, once the follow-up is complete, then you can put a check mark within that ballot box. It is important to read the books, white papers, articles, and books of knowledge 3 times to fully grasp them while acquiring new skills or knowledge. Now you might be thinking, 3 times is a waste of time. But do you know what is a waste of time? Staring at the same paragraph for a long time is a waste of time. Reading the same lines again and again is a waste of time. First time when we are acquiring the information, it is like trying to solve a puzzle having lots of pieces. The problem we have in real life is that we do not have the picture of the complete puzzle in front of us to refer to. Hence, it is important to check the individual pieces of information carefully and intently. It is critical at this stage to write down as many questions for needed clarifications about what we are learning. It can be an old-fashioned way of using a pencil and eraser to write notes and questions in the margins of the book, or similar alternatives for the electronic readers. We can also quickly flip to the end of the chapter to check the summary and quiz intermittently. Second time, when we go through everything again, we start putting some linkages together. It is equivalent to forming some parts of the puzzle by linking few of the pieces together in each part. Multiple substructures and linkages start forming, and our understanding becomes a little bit better. During this process, we can start erasing the questions for which the clarity has been achieved, and also write down new ones which may arise. We can also think of this as the process of starting to connect the dots. Then comes the third iteration, when more and more linkages are put together while firming up the understanding of individual pieces, thus helping the subsections of the puzzle to be put together to complete the puzzle. By the time the third reading is done, we no more look at the individual pieces but always clearly see the whole picture. This is when the real thorough understanding happens. Next, what is important is to internalize it, relate with what we already know. I was really surprised when I first saw a small booklet on the subject of reading, which my son got when he was in the elementary school. Something mentioned therein caught my attention. It was about how to understand what you are reading by relating in different ways, really putting thoughts into it. Since then, I started using it whenever I was learning something new. Maybe we all use some of it sometimes. I wish I had known the systematic way much earlier. The first is text to text. While reading, start thinking about how this information relates to something else you have read or learned earlier in some other book, manual, white paper, biographies or autobiographies. Making connections this way helps understand the subject in a better way. Second is text to self. This type of connection is relating what you are learning to the prior experiences in our lives, either in similar subject area or different one. It might be something we experienced while working on some other project or earlier job. Third is text to word. This refers to making connections to something we saw in the news, movies, and YouTube videos. Our mentors may have shared from their life experiences, which connects to or elaborates something we are learning. Then, we need to reinforce the learning by sharing and explaining to others. First is to share fundamentals by imagining as if you are explaining it to a third grader. Check it out if you have similar age group kids and how they react. Otherwise, ask someone to role play the third grader. The kind of questions and the curiosity with which they will ask those will be something you have never thought about. Your understanding will become clearer in trying to answer them in very simple terms. Explaining the basics in the simplest terms is always the most difficult part. Other way is to share your newly acquired knowledge to someone who is 30 years older than you. They may not have the expertise, but will have their own experiences. They might have used different tools and techniques than what are available now. This will make your brain to work harder so as to convey in order for them to understand. Third way is to ask your friend or spouse's help or form a peer group and share the fundamentals of your learning with them. This group will bring different angles which you yourself would not have looked at and will help firm up the foundations further. You may realize that you are probably struggling to explain some of the aspects when asked by someone who is totally unfamiliar with your area of expertise. We are so much used to our own age group, peer group, and culture that we assume many things because of that. We don't even notice we are assuming so many of them. Trying to explain our newly acquired knowledge by trying to share with these diverse groups will inherently make us go back, reread, and firm up the parts where we struggle to explain. Writing down the points also helps to firm up the knowledge. Maybe that we will never look at those notes ever again, but it is still worth writing it down. Remember that repetition is the mother of learning. It is worth repeating that again. Repetition is the mother of learning. The life begins at the end of our comfort zone. And to expand that comfort zone, we need to grasp more and more information day by day. So here is what we covered in order to increase our grasping power. Understand that there is a difference between reading a novel and reading something we want to grasp. First, glance through the book. Read like we are completing a jigsaw puzzle. Internalize it. Relate with what we already know. And reinforce the learning by sharing and explaining it to others. Remember that becoming smarter day by day is really easy and fun actually. If you liked this video, do provide your feedback in the comments section and do subscribe to the YouTube channel Kaizen Smarter and share the video within your friends and family circle. Let's meet again soon in another video to become a little more smarter. Till then, have a fun day, smart day, and please take it easy.